Srixon isn't like most of its competitors. Instead of churning out fresh drivers each year, the brand runs on an every other year cadence, meaning there's additional time for the R&D department to breathe in between releases. The obvious question is whether an extra year of collaboration and design provides a meaningful performance edge. We all want to know how the products differ and whether it's worth testing or possibly upgrading. Lucky for you, we have a swing robot that can deliver the ultimate gear cheat sheet.
The Golf Laboratories robot has been delivering insights for 35 years and is used by the USGA, R&A, and nearly every manufacturer in the industry for club testing. And it often discovers pretty unexpected results when it comes to comparing new models and older models. We are going to bring you data and visuals that have previously only been accessible to the companies designing your equipment.
When we test clubs, we run each 10.5-degree head at 95 miles per hour, which is a pretty common swing speed for most amateur golfers. This lets us gather a ton of useful data, from spin rate and dispersion to ball speed and carry distance across 9 different impact locations on the face. We also use the same shaft to create a true apples-to-apples comparison. We're able to acquire meaningful data points for 90% of the face, so practically every kind of miss is accounted for. Here's what we found when we tested the last 3 versions of the Srixon driver on the robot. I love starting with launch and spin because both metrics can make or break your driver. Erratic launch and spin numbers on miss hits, and you're going to miss hit the ball, can lead to wild swings in carry distance and dispersion. Reloads off the tee can become a common sight. You want both of these metrics to remain consistent, regardless of where the ball is impacting the face. Launch angles across the board remain steady over the last 3 generations, and you could say the same thing for spin rates when looking at the data. Comparing ZXi models to the previous 2 years, we're seeing slightly lower spins across the board, but it's not always significant. The data tells us that ZX5 MK2 had more shots recorded at 2,400 to 3,000 RPMs than ZXi and ZXi Max, so it has the potential to be the lowest spinning option if you opt for a more forgiving model. Spin ranges are fairly similar over the last 2 versions too. ZXi LS is the lone model that saw spin changing in a meaningful way. We're seeing roughly 400 RPMs less spin versus MK2 LS. But here's where the data offers an interesting perspective. I've already mentioned the importance of having consistent spin rates, and this is a prime example. We're seeing spin tighten on the high and low end with ZXi LS, which translates to better performance on misses. It's a night and day improvement from ZX7, where the spin rates were all over the place.
You might be thinking, okay, the spin rates for ZXi and ZXi Max didn't change all that much in the last 6 years. Does that mean speed is flat as well? We're seeing roughly 75% of the 54 shots recorded across the face achieve a ball speed between 136 to 142 miles per hour. That number drops to just 32% for the same ball speed range with the ZX5, MK2, and ZX5. Now let's be real. You're not going to pure it out of the center every time, so are you willing to take a chance and gain less ball speed on those miss hits? It's a question that's worth pondering. It's more of the same for ZXi LS. Roughly 67% of the shots achieved a ball speed between 136 and 142. You can make a case that the ZX7 from a few versions ago was the closest comp to the ZXi LS, but it's still at a 35% clip in the same ball speed range. And don't forget, spin was all over the map. For a pure speed perspective, it's obvious ZXi products give you more speed potential on the top end, and that's exactly what you want.
Ball speed is important, but only if it's tied to reliable launch and spin numbers. We've seen spin remain consistent and ball speed tick up. And here's where those metrics reward you with more carry distance. The ZXi is roughly 10 yards longer than ZX5 MK2. That's a club less into the hole, and I can guarantee you no one is going to complain about that. The carry data is nearly identical to what we saw from the ball speed data, a higher concentration of shots from 217.5 to 230 yards. And the carry range is tight, so the potential for a squirrely ball is greatly reduced. It's more of the same with ZXi LS, 10 yards longer than the previous two models due to consistent ball speeds and spin numbers. And 70% of the shots are winding up within 217.5 and 230 yards. To have that kind of consistency with a low spin driver is incredibly impressive.
Looking at the dispersion box plot, the one thing that stands out is the number of shots landing in tighter groupings. From ZX5 to ZX5 MK2, the spread out dots reveal a dispersion that went the wrong way. Now we're seeing ZXi and ZXi Max go in the correct direction. ZXi produced one of the straightest balls and tightest dispersions we saw during robot testing, even more so than ZX5. ZXi Max has more of a left bias for golfers who fight a slice, but it's consistently left and tightly bunched. Funny enough, we've seen the low spin offerings flip-flop from being more left biased to right biased. And again, the dots indicate we aren't seeing a ton of variance in the dispersion pattern. The pattern has improved by 5 yards, and you can now hit an auto fade on command. That should be music to the ears of better players.
So who should upgrade? I'd upgrade if you like distance and keeping more golf balls in your bag, which might seem pretty obvious. Having an extra year to plan seems to have paid off for Srixon, who improved all three of their Z Series drivers in some key areas. Of the three, I think the ZXi and the ZXi Max check a ton of boxes. They performed exceptionally well on off-center shots and delivered the goods in the dispersion department. If you're still playing ZX5 or ZX7, those two 2025 models alone do more than enough to justify a testing session.
Now, who should not upgrade? I'm not sure I can offer a compelling argument for why you shouldn't upgrade. The new drivers are 10 yards longer than the previous version. They deliver better dispersion patterns. The spin and launch metrics are consistent. It's an open and shut case. I do like ZX5's dispersion pattern, but it gets lapped in ball speed and carried by ZXi and ZXi Max. If you don't need an extra 10 yards, it's probably the one driver from the previous bunch I'd say has some staying power.
I think we need to give Srixon their flowers. This is a brand that continues to fly under the radar and churn out solid products. The robot's unbiased take is that ZXi is better in several key areas, and some of those areas are going to lead to longer, straighter drives. To be clear, this isn't a marketing read. The numbers simply prove Srixon has something going on, and it's time more golfers took notice.